Wow, rocketed out. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing a 2022 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy. First and foremost, though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Brent Brown Toyota here in Orem, Utah, for giving me some time with this Palisade. Check out their inventory in the description down below. This one is available for sale if you're interested. And then, as always, if you are going to reach out to them, make sure to ask for Rick Elliott. On a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into the video. So under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 3.8 liter V6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's good for 291 horsepower and then 262 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front end of the Palisade. So first off, I think this metallic gray actually looks really good with the Palisade. So notice the trim here has more of like a brushed appearance as part of the calligraphy package, just to make it look a little bit more upscale. And then we've got the daytime running light, which is super unique. And then the headlights as well, also pretty unique as well with the appearance. Parking sensors here on the front end. And then you can see the sensor there at the bottom. And it's a pretty interesting looking vehicle, but I think it looks good. Coming on the side here, we've got two 45mm tires wrapped around 20-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see with the design on the wheel, we've got the silver there on the top, and it's kind of dark on the interior. Definitely a crazy looking wheel, that is for sure. And then notice here with the fender flare, how that is body painted, it looks really good. And then the fender, it's like doubled down in terms of like the lines. It looks kind of interesting. And then the mirrors also, look at the turn signal indicators on them. And then you can see the door handle is actually pretty nice from a trim perspective. Then notice silver trim around the windows. And again, funky looking wheels, but once you take a step back, it kind of all makes sense. Now here is the key fob for the Palisade. You guys can see you've got the lock function, the unlock. You've got this remote start and then this to open up the hatch. So holding that, it'll pop right open. And then popping inside, first off, you can see a storage space underneath. Now we do have the third row folded down, but guess what? I can be lazy. And I can fold it back up automatically. Second row you can only fold down. Notice with the arrows, you guys can see how they're just pointed down for the second row, but the third row has down and up basically. 12 volt, and now you can see the storage space here with the row folded up, and boom. Now finishing things up with the rest of the rear, you guys can see here with the Hyundai Palisade logo, and then notice H-Track there, and then we have the two exhaust tips right here, just on one side. Taillight design is also pretty interesting, and well, there you go. So here's the door panel in the rear. You guys can see we've got the sunshade right here, and then notice with the trim down below, it's perforated. You got all the stitching throughout. And then again, the trim even lower down. Window control right there. Palisade logo. And then here is the front seat. Again, look at that cool quilted design, then perforated all down the center portion. Legroom. Headroom solid. We got this little storage pocket right here. Armrest. Heated, cooled seats for the back. Got our own climate zone back here. And then you can see there with the outlets. Now, third row, you guys kind of know the story. You can fit adults back there. Legroom's kind of cramped, but you can fit. And then headroom's actually really solid in the rear. And the seats are really nice too. You can see they have nice materials. And then notice here with the adjustments to help out with getting out of the third row, which is pretty cool. But since this has captain chairs, you can kind of just squeeze between this section. Let's head to the front. So taking a look at the door panel here, you can see it's soft touch here at the top, but it's not necessarily like the nicest material. Anyways, you can see down below though, it looks fantastic. All of our window controls, mirror adjustments. The mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and then we got memory seats, another Palisade logo. And then here are the front seats. Gonna get that cool kind of quilted design, perforated in the center portion. Adjustments here on the side. Pedal layout down below, which looks pretty normal. Got the parking brake right here, stability control, lane departure. You've got your blind spot monitoring, steering wheel adjustment, which is manual. Let's pop in. Now here is the steering wheel for the Palisade. You guys can see here with the leather trim at the top, perfect here on the sides so you can get a better grip, and then smooth at the bottom. Paddle shifters here on the back for the 8-speed automatic. Got our voice command controls. We have our pages button control here. It does have adaptive cruise control. Regular turn signal light stock, and then windshield wiper stock, and there's a steering wheel. Now here is the center gauge cluster. It's a full digital gauge cluster. You can scroll through some different menus to see different bits of info, but I like the RPMs there in the center. I think that looks pretty cool. We do have some different drive modes. So we've got our Eco. You can see we've got a cool animation for it. We have our Snow mode. And then Comfort was what it was in first. And we have Sport, which again, cool animation. Then we have our Smart mode. And this does come with a center locker. We'll talk about that in a moment. But there's the drive modes, there's the center stack. Now here's the infotainment system. First off, we pop it into reverse. We do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. Tons of different viewpoints here with the camera system. Just a really good system overall. And going back into park into the rest of the infotainment system, you can see response time's great. You can control the rear climate controls here from the front. You also have the passenger talk, so you don't have to raise your voice to tell the kids that they need to stop fighting with each other. And yeah, other than that, that is everything for the infotainment screen. Here's the vents, and then notice the padding here, and then also the darker trim. Pretty solid. I like the finish on the controls down below. I think that looks great. And then we do have our climate controls here in this area. Again, you've got the 2 zones for the front and then the rear climate as well. Transmission selector here in this area, which is pretty interesting. Auto hold, and then again we've got our drive mode select with the center locker. That's just going to make it so that your power distribution is even front to rear. And then hill descent control, auto stop start if you want to turn that off. Camera view button, and then your parking sensors. Heated cooled seats here for the front. Heated steering wheel. And then notice we've got the over-engineered cup holders, which are just super unique. Wireless phone charging pad with the USB, and then rest of the center console, which storage space is actually pretty solid compared to other SUVs in this segment. Then pretty normal glove box setup. Nice little handle on it, though, I will say that. And then finishing things here at the top. So center situation is kind of interesting. So you guys can see we've got this one sunroof here at the front, but then there's also another sunroof there at the rear. And then you got these lights up here too, which are pretty nice. And then we have this nice premium headliner, which definitely kind of brings things up from an interior perspective. But yeah, it's cool that it has like 2 different sets of sunroofs here at the top end. It's just so soft. Now, if you want the most up-to-date price on this particular Palisade, check out Brent Brown Toyota's inventory in the description down below. Let's take it out and see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off here in the Palisade. So first off, here's the visibility of the hood. You guys can now see the heads-up display, hopefully. Both the mirrors, they do have blind spot monitoring, and then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So, setting off here in the Palisade. First off, definitely an interesting SUV. It's kind of like setting off in the Palisade. And this SUV, I feel like fundamentally changed third row SUVs for the better. First off, turn signal camera, pretty cool, right? Pretty cool bit of tech to have. But yeah, like prior to this, a lot of automakers were just kind of like cheaping out with this segment. They weren't really putting nice materials, and they weren't putting a lot of tech in them. They're just like, hey, you know what? You're gonna pay all the money, but you're gonna have a third row and you're gonna have decent power. Hyundai/Kia came along and said, no, we're gonna give you a nice SUV, like nice interior. There's another Palisade, by the way. Nice interior. It's gonna have the power, it's gonna have the third row, and it's gonna be techie. And so now everyone else is like scrambling to make nicer vehicles, like Jeep, you know, with the new Grand Cherokee L, for example, changed so much and made that so much nicer. Like it's a full-blown luxury vehicle now. So it's just very interesting to see everything that's changed. But yeah, let's talk about how this drives. So first off, it's smooth, it's comfortable, seat comfort is great as well with this. Air conditioned seat function is a nice thing to have, that is for sure. And you know, I feel like I'm in a luxury car. Now, the material use is not necessarily the nicest all around, like compared to actual luxury automakers like, you know, Mercedes and BMW and Audi and all that, but it's up there. It's definitely, it's nice for sure. And then, you know, sounds pretty solid. But then again, I am a little bit messed up because I drove a Bronco before this, and Broncos are loud in the interior, so now this just feels like a full-blown luxury experience because of how noisy it is in the Bronco. Really like how this drives. We're gonna pop into the sport mode. Engine's really torquey. That's the nice thing about bigger V6s is they just punch so hard. Yeah. Wow, rocketed out. Yeah, I mean, it's so cool. So like my first experience with a smaller displacement V6 versus the larger displacement V6 was driving a Tacoma with like a 4-liter V8 and then one with the 3.5. The 3.5's amazing, don't get me wrong, but that 4-liter, man, it's so much better. And it's the same thing with this. It's a 3.8-liter V6, and since it's just a little bit bigger, I don't know, it just punches harder. Displacement, what do they say? There's no replacement for displacement. But yeah, let's sum things up here for the Palisade. So first off, exterior wise, it's pretty unique. You know, everyone says the Telluride looks better. I'll just leave it at that. I think it's a pretty good looking vehicle. Interior is, especially for the segments, very nice. You know, having the premium headliner and having really nice seats and the cool design. I think they did a great job. Tons of tech features. It's still such a solid value. And so basically, if you want a, you know, sort of a luxury SUV experience, but then not at a luxury SUV price, and you, obviously a third row SUV, so you can haul around all the kids, that's what the Palisade gives you. It's a really nice SUV, even to this day, even a few years after launch, still great. That's gonna sum things up for our video on this Palisade. Again, a huge shout out, thank you to the Brent Brown Toyota here in Orem, Utah for giving me some time with the Palisade. As always, ask for Rick Elliott. I'll see you guys.